Vale, creo que ya estoy otra vez por aquí, pero a Neil creo que se le sigue sin ver. Así que, un segundito.
Let's see if we can start because we're having connection issues, I guess.
All right, no problem. Is there anything I can do on my end, or is it just your
No,
guys?
I mean your cam is alright. The thing is that it's
Ya
not
está, ya
appearing
está.
in the OBS for some reason. Oh, no,
Ya
now
está.
it's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vale, pues, first of all, thank you, Neil, for coming here. Thank you for your time.
No worries.
Well, I think Robert tell you how this works a little bit.
Yeah, I explained him how it was gonna be in Discord. Yes. First of all, thank you for coming. I mean, I have to say to the chat that Neil was the one who typed me and he wanted to come with us and talk about the thing. So I'm very grateful to him. Just to, I think it's not easy to come here after a loss like yesterday one. So again, thank you, and let's see if we can start now with the interview.
Yeah, let's do it.
First of all, like I did to Boo, I wanna know how are you feeling right now? After yesterday lost, how are your feelings? How are your thoughts now? And how are you dealing with it?
I think obviously after you lose, like the first couple hours is really tough because you think about everything that you could have done better in the game. So like you always think about, like for me as a coach, it's like what could I have done in the tack pauses better? I was happy with the ones that I'd done on the first two maps, but then like last night, Icebox, it was for them individually. Like they felt like it was their fault, and it wasn't. Like we lose as a team. No individual is responsible, right? So that's how it was last night. Everyone was obviously a little bit down. I think this loss hurt because it was obviously a good chance for us to still make the playoffs. I think there's still a chance, but it's going to be really tough now, and we have to rely on other things going our way. So yeah, I mean, last night everyone was obviously a little bit down, but today we're kind of like it's an off day, so time to reset, and then we go back to work again. So yeah, we don't have time to be sad. We just have to pick ourselves up. So we're still hurting a little bit this afternoon, right? But it gets better after the first day.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a chance still to make playoffs.
Yeah.
I think if we win like every game and Vitality loses everyone, so every game, well, they can win one more. I think we can pass, but it's like you said, it's very tough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's not in our hands anymore, right? So it's not as simple as just winning all the games, but yeah.
So I want to divide the interview like first of all, like first block to not talk all about yesterday because it's gonna be like in repeat, and we are not gonna take anything clear. I want to ask you first how are you as a coach? How do you like to manage the teams, and how is your method? First, like first question is, how do you find yourself as a coach, and are you like super strict, or you just adapt to the players you have?
No, so like before I used to be very, very, very loose, especially when I was in G2, for example. But I think like one of the things I learned in that team was I had to be more strict. So yeah, that's something I've worked on after G2. Trying to be a lot more strict. For example, like in the old G2, I would never criticize Mixwell, like ever, just because I had so much respect for him, right? But yeah, that was something that I like quickly learned. So yeah, I'm a lot more strict now. And for me, like I like to focus a lot on fundamentals. So like our trade and our space and our comms, I'm super hard on that, I would say. That's the one thing that annoys me the most, and that's the one thing that I get really, really frustrated about. Especially, you can see it like visibly on. I mean, I did an interview a couple of weeks ago after we lost, and I was really angry, just because I know how much better we could have played. So like a lot of my coaching style comes from, I guess myself, is I was an IGL before in CS:GO for like 8 years, so a lot of it is literally just playing like a team, getting the basics down first, having good fundamentals. And yeah, I like to try different things with comps as well. That was something I never really done in G2.
Yeah.
But I've been I experiment a lot in my North American team. I haven't done it as much in this team, to be honest. We've run a couple of crazy comps, but not as much. So yeah, the one of my like main things is I like to work with an IGL, and I like to take my time to choose the IGL. It's not something that I had in G2. I had that in North America, where our team was, I think we started off like 60th or 70th, and we got to top 10 eventually. So
Yeah.
if I have the time and if I have an IGL that I can work with, yeah, we can get like a really good partnership going. And that was kind of like the first challenge we had in this team as well, right? Just because of how it was built. So yeah.
And I was gonna ask you for example, I mean, with I when the weird comes, we can talk like that. I mean, I followed every single team you've been. I mean, I was like G2 fan. I was the G2 fan of that roster because I was not a really G2 fan, but because it was Mixwell and Cold and everything.
Yeah.
And I followed you in after that in Dark Zero and then Dark Ratio.
Yeah.
And I know you like to experiment with the comps, but I think in Europe meta it's like kind of difficult to experiment because like there is an established meta that everyone is playing, and if you go out of that, it's like very risky, you know.
Yeah, it is. It's super
So
risky. And that's the thing, right? It's like in North America, you could get away with some of the crazy stuff,
yeah,
especially when we were underdogs. And to be honest, it worked for us in our earlier tournaments this year. But you are right. Like sometimes it's really hard to stray away from the meta comps. But still, I like to try and I hate like just running the same comps as everyone else. Even like, sure, they're meta for a reason and they are really strong.
yeah,
But the problem with that is if you don't have the same kind of core that some of these teams do. So if you go up against Fnatic and they've been practicing the same comp for 6 months and they're super good at it, or Navi,
yeah,
they're like Navi are like one of the teams that if they play Ascent, right, they can switch between like 3 different comps and they're insane on all 3 of them. So if you're coming up and you've had less than 6 months together as a team, or like you've changed roles, you're trying to find your style first. You're trying to find what fits you, and you just run the same comp as them. They have practiced for like a year maybe as the core, and they know the reactions, they know the comp inside
yeah,
out. So that's sometimes why I like to try surprise with a different comp. And we did it like even in this split against Navi, like on Lotus, we changed our comp up within a couple of days, and it caught them off guard. I'm still really good friends with Dimbros, and he was saying that it caught us off like so hard. So it definitely does still work. The only problem is if you run something gimmicky, after someone watches your VODs, they can just like pick you apart really easily. So that's the downside to it. So I've tried to get a good mix of the meta comps and kind of like different ones with this team, but I'm not the kind of coach that is gonna force the guys to play comps they don't want to
yeah.
play. It's a team decision. I'm not gonna be like, yo, you're playing Gecko, yo, you're playing Euro, and everyone's like, I don't want to play that agent, I don't want to play it, and I'm gonna be like, no, you're playing it. That's not me. So any
Yeah,
comp that we run, it's a team decision. And if there's been loads of comps that we've suggested and people have been like, I wouldn't feel comfortable playing that, so we don't play it.
yeah.
Mhm.
That that was that was a question that like we can tell like that to your, I mean, or to you or just feed the players, but
Yeah,
you
like
answer it, so all good. I
just
mean,
just
yeah,
from my experiences, I know it's a different game, right? With CS, but the same thing still applies. Like if a coach was forcing me to play an agent, it doesn't apply in CS. It's more so in Valorant. But like if you're getting forced to play something, I know from my experiences as like a player before, I would hate it. Like I would hate a coach telling me what to do every step of the way. And I think every player is the same. Obviously, if you have a strict coach and they've got a super strict game plan, I think that's fine. But I don't see anyone being super comfortable being forced on an agent they just don't want to play.
Are good, and they know like their team play is good, and I think when you have that, you can just go off meta, you know. But it's like, for me, it's very difficult to try to innovate if you don't have a solid base to work on, you know. So
yeah, exactly.
That's my thought. Okay, I can move on to the next question. That it's what is your work method? How do you work day by day?
So kind of I'm not gonna tell you like
No, I
too
mean,
much of what we do,
don't
but
tell me, don't tell
yeah,
me everything you do, but what are the things that you put more focus on while
yeah.
coaching?
So okay, yeah. So one thing like what we'll do, I guess when we come in the morning, I'll just go for the typical day, right? Like we'll meet together. Usually for lunch. We're lucky enough in Heretics we have a really good chef in the house, so he cooks us like really good meals. So we'll meet up, we'll chill. I think that's something that's super important. Getting together as a team, bonding a little bit. So we'll come in usually like an hour and a half before scrims start. And I'll let the guys play some ranked usually to warm up, or like Avova, for example, play aim labs. Some people have got different routines that they like to do. I hate just kind of like making people roll out of bed and then go straight into games. It never works. If we have to look at some VOD reviews from like the night before, we'll go through it. But usually, what I've been trying to do is kind of go through VODs as it happens. So we'll do some server time depending on how much we need to do. That'll usually be dry runs, or we'll go over our retakes, or if we have played an official, for example, we'll take out like 3 hours and we'll watch the games back and we'll analyze it. We'll take down notes. But if it's just a typical prac day, yeah, we'll have maybe 2 or 3 maps. Ideally, you would have like, I'd like to focus on 2 maps per week, but when you're in this kind of high intensity, kind of like you have a game every week, we're having to like change our maps depending on the team we're playing, right? So that's something we'll figure out. We'll split our maps into, if we have 20 scrims, it's usually about 20 scrims we have if we play 5 scrims a day. To prepare for each team. So yeah, it's basically just trying to split out which ones have more priority, which ones we're more comfortable on. If we have to change comps, then we're looking at like 4 or 5 scrims to get a change in comp right. So it's not easy at all. So before the players arrive, me and Weber, my assistant, will usually come in 2 or 3 hours before everyone else, and we'll do the groundwork for the comps. So Weber does a lot of the strategical side of the things. So he'll help with like the defensive game plan, the attacking game plan. And now that we've got our IGL role a bit more clarified, Boo or Zeke would come in and work with us for a little bit as well. So yeah, and then we'd start off our day of scrims. So it'd be like 2 scrims, break, or sometimes 3 scrims, a break, and then we'd play 2 more scrims. And after each scrim, I think Zeke posted like a picture on Twitter of the board the other day, but yeah, I usually take notes round by round. Focus on the good things that we've done, focus on the bad things we've done, and we'll try go through those before we play the next scrim, just so we don't make the same mistakes. Obviously, we can't go through, 20 rounds in 5 minutes. So I usually just focus on the most important rounds, and that's something that every player I've kind of coached enjoys, like just instant feedback. So that's something I've put a lot of focus on. So yeah, that's like a typical day.
Okay. So if you like, we just move on to the second block. That it's what all people are waiting for. First of all, you made a lot of interviews since the roster came. I think we saw your interview against with Thorin. I saw one you did with Limbo as well, and I tried to not do the same questions you answered there. so we can clarify some things or go deeply in some ones if as deep as we can, because I know you cannot say everything.
Of course, yeah. Like I said, asking if it's something that I can't.
Yeah.
I'll still try to give you a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't want to say nothing,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so the first thing, it's tell us how the team was made. I know the version you said to Thorin, but I want to know some. I mean, I know the process was kind of hard, and what happened really? Because you said you had 10 days to build the team up, but why you had 10 days? Well, why do you think was the issue to have 10 days only to do the team?
It's funny. It wasn't actually 10 days. It's 5.
Oh, it
We'll
was
find
5.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
then you said
Do you know
10
what?
in the interview.
Yeah,
That's what
I said 10. I said 10. You know what? I'll send you a screenshot actually. You can share this on stream. I don't mind if you share on stream. I blocked out some of the names, but basically, like whenever I do pracs, whenever I do trials, whenever I do,
Yeah.
I'll record the scrims so that we can watch it back. So this will give you like an idea of how quick the team was built, right? So there you go. That was like the direct screenshot from my YouTube.
Holy shit! Yeah,
So basically, like
yeah.
the second of October,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was with another franchise team that I was working with for a little bit, and then Heretics came back to me eventually. So that was like, I'm not blaming anyone here. Okay, there's no blame game. Basically, what happened was Heretics were building their League of Legends roster, and that got like high priority. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
so League for Heretics was very high. There was a point where I didn't think I was going to be joining Heretics just because it was taking so long. The process was so long. Teams like Giants, that was one of the teams I was working with for a little bit, and I was super close to signing with them, to be honest. And that's when Heretics came back in, and yeah, I liked everything that Arnau had to say. I think the team is like a team that I've looked up to a lot, so it was a huge challenge, and that was kind of like something that I wanted. I didn't want. I'm not saying I wanted an easy job because no job would be easy, right? But there was a world where I could have stayed, like chilled kind of role. So I knew this was going to be tough, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want an easy job. I knew this season was going to be tough, but I wanted a challenge. So I'm not blaming anyone, right? Like it's just how things worked out. We didn't have very long like to build the team, and the biggest issue was that because we got started so late on the project, a lot of the talent, like unsigned talent, was literally signed by like the Ascension teams. So teams like Ascend had already signed players, like Monster was already signed up, and you'd be asking Heretics to splash like 100k on buyouts potentially for people that you don't really know if they're proven yet. Like obviously they're good, but it's the first season of franchise, right? Like I didn't want to. It's basically like you're playing with crazy amounts of money potentially. So we went for free agents, which is fine. Like it's what it is. And also when I signed, Oscar was already signed on the roster as well. So I think that was something that, or when I signed, Oscar was there as well, and that's not a bad thing. Like I love Mixwell, but you're obviously joining a team now that had keloqz in it from the previous roster, and that was someone I loved working with before. I had been following keloqz a little bit after G2, but yeah, I hadn't really played. If people are going to ask that, oh, like, why didn't you try on a duelist? There was no one better. Like keloqz was really, really good, and he still is good. He's just having a little bit of a tough time just now. So it's like that's kind of how it ended up. And the funny thing is like when I was on the call with the first like call after I'd signed with Arnau, I was like, bro, the one thing I want to avoid now that we've got Oscar and keloqz is just bringing back old G2 players. Like I didn't want to do it, and that's not because it's not because I didn't enjoy working with them. I was just like, we've already done that before. We already had issues. Let's try avoid it if possible, right? Let's try and see what new talent there was if we could get someone in. But yeah, the problem was there was just no time. The first soft roster lock was coming in pretty much after the first couple of weeks, and I think the gap between the 14th and the 30th, when we had our first full day of scrims with this team, I think the old Heretics roster, so like Rubinho, those guys, like the one before, it's like
Yeah.
lowel, Rubinho, those guys were still playing because they were in, I think it was like a Spanish league or something. So we had to give
the Crossfire Cup, or
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were playing.
So we had to still let those guys practice, and obviously keloqz was in the team, so we couldn't play with our new team, so to speak. So yeah, those guys were still playing. They still had tournaments. I think I think it was Oscar had to go away for like 3 or 4 days. So yeah, it was like after we built the team, we kind of had a little bit of a break. But when it came to actually building the roster, it was pretty. Most of the teams had already got their players. So I mean, I think you guys, I don't want to say stalked, but you guys knew everyone were trialing anyway, so that's why I don't really mind sharing most of this.
That's
because...
the funny thing. It's when you send the image. I mean, you know the story. You know that we were.
I mean, you guys knew everything, so it was like
I'm gonna
that's
tell
why
the
I don't
full
mind showing it.
context because it's funny. I mean, we were using the illegal app that it's now, I think it's Cap. You cannot use it anymore, and we were literally because Oscar was playing in the we knew it because Oscar was playing in the solo queue account.
Pocho on there.
Yeah. And we knew you were doing tries with him, and then when you started pragging with Oscar, we just you were we just totally know every single player we're training. I mean, even we were so sick that we were like checking the Smurfs who we're playing with, and I think I almost take the 80% of the roster right, because
I think there was only one you didn't get.
Yeah, because I think you used like one account for many players. So
yeah, it was my second or like one of my Smurf accounts. So it's like it was a guy from North America that like it was on my old team, and I rate him super highly. So it's like I trialed him, but there was no chance he could have came. Like he had no passport. He had no.
He told me in his stream he is. I mean, I'm not gonna say date, but I know that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, like that's basically how it happened, and yeah, like I said, dude, it's no one's fault. I'm not pinning the blame on anyone else. Like, I knew how hard the season was going to be, and like the harsh reality of it is, people are always like, "Why did you do this team? Why did you do that?" I'm like, bro, if I had the chance to pick people that I hadn't worked with only getting to see them for 5 days, I would rather pick people that I've worked with before. I knew how good they are, like individually, or how good they could have been individually, like at their peak, and obviously, like with Avova, I'd worked with him before, and he's like the nicest guy ever. So it's like getting Avova back in the team was a no-brainer, and we weren't even sure if we could get Avova. That's why, I mean, if you look at those names, like we didn't actually get a chance to play with the full five. We kind of had to trial people, and then basically just like I think we had one day of like with the full team, and we're like, I know what I'm gonna get with Avova. I know what I'm gonna get with Oscar. I know what I'm gonna get with keloqz. And like the biggest or the most annoying, the most frustrating thing was trying to find an IGL, because there wasn't many, but I was really happy with Boo. I think Boo had a lot of potential. Like Boo still has a lot of potential. Honestly, I think individually he's really, really strong for an IGL. He's been an absolute rock in our team, and he's like the kind of guy that if you ask him to do anything, he's gonna do it. Like, dude, you could ask him to go play Euro one day, and then you could ask him to go play Cypher the next day, and he won't even complain. Like, he would literally just go off. Yeah. He would work so hard, and he would come back the next day with like, okay, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. Like, people like that are so invaluable. So, yeah.
The thing that people complain the most about this roster was, I mean, I just try to tell you what people think.
Yeah, because, go for it. Like, just say unfiltered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. That's not my idea, because I mean, I trusted in. I like the players. I kinda don't know how Boo was really how. I mean, I don't know how Boo calls, but I trust that OG London United was playing like quite good, so I just trust him. But I didn't dislike the players because I was just a G2 fan. I mean, and I don't think they did bad, honestly, because people put the blame in the roster, like, okay, they didn't win, they didn't go champions, and they didn't win masters, so it's a bad trade. I think you did a great result. I mean, you get top 3, 4 in masters, which is good for me at least, and you only had one split without points to qualify champions. So what can you do? You know, so you
Yeah.
had the option to win. So that what people said, it's like this doesn't work in G2. How is it gonna work in Heretics? And they all started criticizing the roster, which
Yeah.
I kinda can understand
I
because
understand it as well, and that's
yeah,
literally what I said to Arnal was like one of the risks, right? Like there was problems in the team before, and it wasn't. There was different kind of issues to what we're having now, though. To be honest, it's not. It wasn't identical issues. There are still some issues there role wise, but for me, I was always like, I was thinking that I consider myself a much better coach than I was in G2. I've learned a lot. One of the biggest things I wanted to do was get keloqz off only Jet. And to be honest, that's been a little bit harder than what I expected. So that was like one problem. The second problem was like obviously the Sentinel. And when we signed Oscar to the team, or when Oscar got signed to the team, that was the second issue that I had. Like there was no, like you can look at that list that I sent you. That was kind of the players we were looking to sign.
yeah,
There's no Sentinels there with firepower. Like we couldn't get Monster, for example. There is no, like, every other Turkish player was signed, and the biggest problem or the biggest worry I had with this team in particular was our firepower.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like what's happening right now a little bit. Like the problem is we don't have a firepower problem. It's like a consistency problem because when we are on it, we have like a lot of firepower.
yeah,
So it's not necessarily a firepower problem. Like it's like, oh, you guys can't frag. Like we can when we're on our A game, and you've seen it against Navi, like one of the best teams, and we 10-2'd them. We're hitting our shots. So
yeah,
that's not the biggest issue, but it was definitely one that was a concern. But yeah, like to be honest with you, like I knew what the, not the hate, but I knew the concerns. Like I shared them as well, but I've worked with these guys before. Like I know what Oscar can bring to a team. I know what keloqz. Obviously, when I worked with him, he was like the kind of wonder kid that came into Berlin. Yeah, he was one of the best players in the event. The guy's still got incredible mechanics, and he showed that in the first week of scrims.
yeah,
But the harsh reality is, if you have like a limited time to test players and scout players and really see what you're going to get, then there's a risk of it not being all rainbows and butterflies. Like look
yeah,
at teams like Fnatic. They've perfected their team over a course of like 2.5 years. Same with Navi. It's not like they've just plucked 5 people out of the sky and they've made it work. Like these things take time, and I know that it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a coach. It's frustrating as a fan. But yeah, if you want to make a successful team, it doesn't get built in 6 months. It doesn't get built in a year. It can take. It's a process, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have 4 or 5 of the best players in each role, then you can maybe make it work in 6-7 months. But even like look at Koi right now, for
yeah,
example. Everyone was saying Koi had perfect roles. They have like the Wonder Kid, but sometimes it just doesn't gel together. Like sometimes it just doesn't work together. And I know Koi had the same kind of problems. They had quite a long time to build the roster, I think, but they had like 0 time to practice. So I think Koi are suffering from that as well.
yeah.
It's not necessarily anyone's fault. They just had the same kind of problems that we maybe did, where they didn't get as much time together because of contractual issues and
I
whatnot.
mean, what I know is that Koi made the roster without even doing tryouts or some shit.
Yeah.
They just took the pieces and they just expected them to fit.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look I mean, to be honest, I thought Koi will fucking destroy there because if you look on paper what players they picked and how many players and how flexible are they are, and also they pick up an insane stuff. I think Barbar and Go Kid for me is insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you don't know the guy, but tactically with Kase he did insane for
Yeah, I
me
know Gokid.
in my opinion.
We were looking at getting, or well, I was looking at working with Gokid in this team, to be honest. But then he signed for Koi, so
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Same
kind of
with
rough.
same with Trex.
So,
Like, did I trial
yeah.
Trex for like 1 day, and I was like, bro, I want this guy. Like, get him right now. And obviously, like, we made him the offer after 1 day of scrims, but he chose Koi. So yeah, yeah, Trex was insane. But the other thing, like, I agree. Like all the stuff on paper, like you said, Koi have a great team on paper, but the one thing that like, I think a lot of fans don't understand, or like maybe some do. It's not just stats. It's not just getting the perfect player. It's like whether they all gel together as a five, and that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like if you have like 5 insane players, but 2 of them hate each other, you're never going to win anything. And like that's something. It's not like we've had people hate each other in the team, but we have people who just don't see the game the same way. So you're constantly at battle. That's why we're changing roles. That's why we're trying different things. And I'm trying to find a way for us to kind of compromise and work together. But sometimes it just doesn't align. Like the stars don't align like that. And that's kind of, it is what it is, right? Like it's one of the most important things. And I think Koi maybe had that problem as well. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of that team. But like you said, they've got a really good staff and on paper an insane team. But unfortunately, it's not as easy as that. You're dealing with real people.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people who have emotions, who, you know, they're not robots. They don't just turn up and they're all good every single day, you know? And that's like one of the biggest challenges as a coach in any sport, any game, is you're basically managing people, you know? So people can criticize your strats, sure, like that's a part of it. But sometimes you can have the best strats in the game, sometimes you can have the best macro, but if people are emotional or, you know, like we're not gelling together in game or we're not communicating properly, then the game plan's going to go out the window really quickly. And that's what happens to a lot of the teams that fail.
Well, if Titan, do you want to ask something? Because I'm only talking, bro. We're two guys.
No, don't worry, bro. I prefer you get this now, but if you want, I would like to ask you which is the real goal to the team right now at the moment. I mean, we know that it's so fucking hard qualify to playoffs. It's true that we have the last chance to qualify. So I don't know if you can tell us what is the real goals of the team now.
The real goal right now is taking every game as it comes, and I want the guys to show themselves like I've seen them in. I'm not going to say in scrim, so I'm not going to use that because I was getting so much flame for that. Like, oh, scrim bro champion, nice dude.
Yeah.
That's not what I was going for.
Bro, me too. Don't worry,
yeah.
don't worry. I was defending the team with that, and I'm getting flame hard.
But basically, like, and to be honest, one of the things that I really regretted saying was obviously after I can't remember who he lost to, Navi, I think it was.
Yeah.
I done an interview on the Spanish channel, like, dude, literally 30 seconds after we lost, and I was so angry, and it was nothing to do with the tactics. It was nothing to do. Well, it kind of was because we just ignored the game plan, but it was more like we just kind of tunnel visioned, and I questioned the mentality, and I shouldn't have done that. It wasn't really mentality; it was more just like we're getting outclassed by a really good team, and we couldn't figure out the answers, right? And the thing that annoyed me the most was like it felt like not that we had given up, but we didn't fight, you know, like we didn't fight for it, and that's why I was really angry. And then like straight away I come off stage and I'm like, bro, can you do an interview? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna turn down an interview. I need to do it. It's like my response. Something I wanted to say as well, and it kind of merged in there. Oh yeah, so like the goal for the next games, I just want us to take every single game as it comes. I don't want to focus on any of the we can maybe qualify. I just want to take every game as it comes and just show the same fight that we have done in the past and in some maps and make it consistent. I want the guys to have fun. I want them to be. I want us to have no regrets, and we've said this anyway for like most of the season. But like I really mean this. I just want us to go out there and we have like everything to. I just want to go out there and do our best. Like that. That's all I ask. I just want to fight till the very end and be an absolute nightmare for the teams that we're coming up against. I don't want to go in and these guys think we're a walkover because we're a winded animal right now, you know, ability, and that was something that wasn't, and that's sometimes or is the most annoying thing to play against. If you're playing against a team that feel like they have nothing to lose, then it's dangerous, and that's the vibe I want us to have. I want us to go out there like rabid animals and just send it. Like I want everyone to have confidence and go into the game confident.
Yeah.
And we take it every map as it comes, and win some pistol rounds. That would be sick. We did win a couple.
Yeah.
We did win a couple. Like we worked really hard on it, to be honest. But
That's a thing that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it later because I think I wanna ask something first. Okay, so we move on to yesterday's game. Like I mean, I don't wanna really know to focus. I don't really want to focus on last games because you saw the interview with Boo, and I think it's kind of the same feeling for all the team. Like being before Liquid, after Liquid game, like you all went up, and I think you all thought that you were capable to fight, and for this game, like I was super excited because I saw signs against Liquid. I analyzed the maps. I mean, I'm not professional analyst, but I've been watching the game for 2-3 years. I can't see everything, and I kind of know. I kind of understand the game, and I felt like more. It was you played better, but it not for me, in my opinion. The improvement was not in macro because we were doing kind of the same things, but we were like doing them as a team, Like for example, in Fracture we were playing 4-1, and we were just applying pressure in one side and executing in the other one. Like it was pretty obvious, but at least we were trading and we were playing the game,
Yeah.
And in defense, we were, for example, mixed well on bridge, and the combination mixed with thick in defense was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I wanna watch that guy in bridge more times. Not gonna lie, because it's fucking insane. But it's good with kill you as well, so you have a problem there.
Yeah.
But it's your problem, not mine. So okay, so that's my thoughts. That seeing the liquid that we improve as a team, and we had the task to improve our game, And I wanted to see against BBO that, because you have 1 week to do it. And I kind of saw it in Haven, and I saw it in Ascent as well. And I mean Ascent.
On Lotus,
On Lotus, yeah. That we improved that, but when it comes to the Icebox, that I think it was a good map. We won against Carmine Corp, like playing very solid.
Yeah.
Yep.
We lost against Fnatic. That it's kind of thing that you can expect because their Icebox is insane, and you can't really. If you want to stop their K, I mean, there's sometimes that you cannot do it because it's just better. And I mean, what can you do? I think we could have played better, but I think we would lose it anyway. So I was not worried about the Icebox, but in the Icebox I saw a completely different team as I saw in Lotus and as I saw in Haven.
Yeah.
And I felt like they knew exactly what we're gonna do. And I don't know. I didn't analyze the map in like precise, but I don't know. It was like everything we were doing was kind of obvious, and we didn't adapt our game to that, and that's what it gets me. It gets me worried about.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
So I think
on
like
the game in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'll focus on Icebox, right? Because obviously the other two, I'll talk about the other two. But for me, Icebox was disappointing, like very disappointing. We had a decent game plan coming into it. I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter like, you haven't changed your macro, you haven't changed this, but we've changed like the roles on that map. Significantly changed the roles on that map, and it was kind of in line with Boo Colin. Like we tried to keep the roles the same, and we added more stuff. So we're basically, before we changed the rules, we're focusing more on. I mean, I don't care saying this now because Icebox is out of the thing. Against Fnatic, against Carmine, we were hitting a lot of B, a lot of A. But afterwards, we put a lot of focus on being quite innovative with harbor walls, with the Viper tech, and we're putting a lot of focus on taking mid, taking kitchen, taking tube, doing splits a lot more. And the problem was Boo was finding it really, really difficult to IGL from Killjoy because that's what he was playing. So he found it really difficult to IGL from Killjoy, which is understandable on the map. You have to be kind of in the pack to make really quick calls. And I think like when we played Icebox before, we had Zeke IGL, who was on Sova, if I'm not mistaken. So he was like in the pack, he was controlling it left. Like Boo was on the other side of the map doing a really good job. So if Boo was lurking on one side of the map, people were like, guys, I've got a timer on A, like come back. And then, you know, there was a really good synergy there. And then on Icebox, we played the same roles, and Boo was like, you know, I'd feel more confident playing something else if I'm gonna, you know, be in the pack and call. So that was where we had the kind of like the decision: do we change comps completely to facilitate the change? We had 4 Icebox scrims to do this, so 4 Icebox scrims to completely change the comp, different roles, different game plan, or we keep the same comp, take like bits from the old kind of game plan and add some new things and switch roles. So with 4 scrims, keep that in mind, because we also had to completely we had to change how we were going to play Lotus because teams had watched us. We had to actually prepare Peril a little bit in case BBL picked Peril. It was unlikely, but it was possible. We had to change our Fracture because there was a chance that Fracture would be in if they banned Lotus. We'd have to pick Fracture, so we don't want to keep it identical. So we also had to change stuff from Fracture. And then we also had to prepare Split. So like I said, you have 20 scrims max per week. Anymore, people are going to be burnt out. You'd be playing 5-6 scrims a day. So yeah, you have to. It's difficult sometimes. That's not an excuse. And that's why I said last night. I made a tweet because a lot of the guys were getting so much hate. Like what? Like the you don't know what you're doing. Like you're played really bad. And I was like, bro, it was my decision at the end of the day. I was the one that said like, boo. If you wanna be more in the pack, go play Harbor. If you want to do it, if you want to try it and you're confident doing it, do it. So it's an agent that Boo's played on other maps. And Boo's the kind of guy that's never going to back down from a challenge. Like, if Boo genuinely was like, I do not want to play this, I'm not comfortable, there's no way in hell I would let him play it. I wouldn't force anyone to play it. So, Boo being the guy he is, he was totally up for the challenge. He played it, but again, he had 4 scrims to IGL on Icebox. When we were attacking A, like our comms were a little bit panicky. There was one instance where, like, I think it was on Pissed With around. I think our harbour wall was a little bit scuffed, and it gave him a gap to kind of push in and kill the planter, and then that was kind of like with harbour. And got a bit, we were a bit panels went completely out the window, so harbour wall killed us, and then the round just fell apart. And it was the same thing on the first buy round. Like, it was a little bit panicky. We changed where we were planting the bomb a couple of times based on like calls that other people were making. So yeah, and then after that, like I took 2 attack pauses early, and that's what I was saying to you. Like I wish I could have done something more, but sometimes it's really difficult. I get 45 seconds or something, you know, to try turn the game around. And on Lotus and on Haven, it felt like we were in control of the game as a team. Everyone was kind of like chill and in control, and it was super easy for me to like identify the weak points and how we could win the round or what we need to do to change. And then yeah, even though we did take 2 attack pauses, it was super difficult to get it going because Kushner straight after the attack pause got like a 4K or something, just completely shut us down. And it's like that guy is also incredibly skilled, so he's even more annoying to play than Darky, honestly, sometimes.
Well, like Couture was just, and in Icebox was literally the same.
Yeah. So it's
it
like,
was unstoppable. Gonna lie.
Yeah, so it's like it goes back to like a saying. I thought it's probably a UK thing, but it's like it's kind of like boxing, right? Like you have a plan, and it's all good until you get punched in the face, and then it just falls apart. And that's kind of what happened. And yeah, I was kind of like, I wasn't disappointed at the players. Like I said, I take that on the chin myself. That maybe it would have been better changing the comp completely and completely changing our game plan in 4 days. Maybe it would have been. But it was my responsibility and it was my decision to be like, you know, okay, Boo, you want on Icebox, for example, in scrims, and we played really well. So, yeah, There's different factors, you know. I think it was the fact that BBL they played well. They didn't play bad. They punished us, and that's what happens at this level. Like if you have an off game, you're gonna get punished.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't blame anyone else apart from myself. Like we lost it as a team as well. I'm sure some of the comms could have been cleaner. We could have traded a lot better. Sure, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. It wasn't the game plan that we went in with basically. But sometimes things happen that make the game plan kind of hard to follow. And yeah, that's kind of what happened on Icebox, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a combination of a lot of things.
Well, in my opinion, it should have been a 2-0 because you played better the Haven, but you know sometimes the luck. I mean, this is one thing that I always say, that for winning you have to play the best you can, and also have a bit of luck, and you didn't have that in Haven at all. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I mean,
Breach's
everything
owned us now
there.
twice.
Yeah.
Bro.
I mean.
On Fracture against Liquid and now on Haven, but yeah,
Yeah.
it is
So.
what it is. But
yeah, but I mean, when you are not playing way better than the other team, it can happen, you know. I mean,
yeah,
but it is what it is. So, and focusing in the icebox, but what you have said, I can understand why that if you had only four plaques or five, I don't know how many you said. I think you said four.
it was
I
four,
think
yeah.
it's kind of difficult to build the map up for with new IGO. But what I didn't understand was why, for example, you both reviewed the map, right? So, for example, you can notice that in the first round we kind of did the same, and they knew actually that we were gonna plant there, and there was a fucking guy inside of the herb, and whenever Boo was gonna plant, the round was lost.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that I mean, what everyone criticized, I saw a lot of analysis of everyone. I saw, and for example, Lucas said in his stream that that you were doing the same in the other Icebox, and that's why they were punishing you. I mean, I know you changed things, like for example harbor walls, but I don't know. I was disappointed of that because I didn't see that the Icebox had a good prep, in my opinion.
Yeah. So that exact thing that you said is something we spoke about, and that's why it was frustrating, because we knew it was going to happen, and I wanted us to plant in a different position. So, you know, like on I mean, people call it the G2 plant. I don't know if you know where that is, but like the one on the floor, beside the generator. That's where we were supposed to plant. But
yeah. I know what you say. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not blaming anyone. But like I said, when nerves hit, we kind of like got the site and we defaulted to planting where we've always planted before. Yeah, that's why it was never the game plan to plant there, but it happened. And we got punished for it. So yeah, it's not like we didn't speak about it. Like we spoke about it, but like I said, sometimes when shit gets real and you're in the heat of things, people go on autopilot, and we do the same stuff. But
what I got frustrated is what I mean. When I was setting them up, I mean, BBL was not playing. I mean, he was playing Turkish style. You know, I mean, they were just they didn't have insane setups, but they were just fighting everything. And the thing is that until the 8th round or something like that you decide to change the round and go take space instead of planting. It's when I saw an adapt, but they were just fighting us the plant. It's like we couldn't react to that, and I don't know. But I don't know if you have the same feeling, but I mean, I'm repeating the Icebox because I was really mad about the Icebox. Not gonna lie. I mean,
for sure, it's understandable. So like we knew that we had to take space against these guys. I think we even specifically said before, like I wanted sorry, if we were going towards A, for example, I wanted keloqz to be pushing deep and fighting deep, like on the rafters. Like
that's what I mean.
If you remember against Carmine, like we did it in the first game.
He was dashing to Gen, and then he was going to rafters and fighting.
Yeah, like I wanted to be way more aggressive and way more in their face kind of thing. But yeah, it just didn't happen. So I did try fix it in one of the attack pauses. And again, I think we did try to go towards A again and got completely shut down. Like they were doing really early sage walls, which we weren't breaking quick enough. That was something I also said in the attack pause. Like we need to be breaking the sage walls. And yeah, we eventually did because they were just sage walling close, and then they knew exactly where we were all the time.
Yeah.
And I also think their B was like definitely weak. And straight after one of the attack pauses, I think we tried to go B, and I just said like keep the drone as late as you can because they're taking individual fights, and the Viper was always in front of the wall, like just fighting by himself, or Kushner was posted top side, just taking op shots.
Yeah.
So Zeke did that, like he droned, he tagged them, he pushed them all the way back into like courtyard, and then we lost the post blunt. So yeah.
Oscar said in the interview before after the game that you couldn't punish the Viper, and that made you play like very uncomfortable because you were not able to deny it, and you were not able to deny like Kutioner, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there are some things there are some things that that can happen. But in my opinion, if you have the map like really strong, there are some things that you can easily manage to solve, you know. But I think it's if you only had 4 prags, I think it's kind of
well. That's what I said. Like
hard.
that's why I also took the blame for the map, right? Like there was a world where we just could have completely risked it and not practiced Peril, for example.
Yeah.
Like if we just didn't play Peril, we would have had more Icebox scrims, and that's again like that's a risk that I have to take, and it's a risk that I did take because I could have given priority to Peril, or sorry, no priority to Peril and then Icebox, and if Peril got through and we hadn't touched the map for a couple of weeks, then it would be equally as bad. You'd have the same questions like, why are you not prepared on this map? Why are you not doing this? But you have to be able to play, 6 maps at least until we can guess the veto. We can have a really good idea of the veto, but the other teams are also changing. It's not like there's some teams that keep their stuff very similar each week and they keep their vetoes very, very similar. Teams like Fnatic, they don't change much because they're so confident. But other teams, like they'll change their veto up, they'll change their comps up. So you have to be prepared to play anything,
Even
yeah, like I
change
can.
the comp, so.
Yeah, and we expected it, to be honest. Like we anti-strided them on that comp on Omen, and we spoke about the Omen comp, but we also said like I think there's a very, very high chance he just picks Jet and they completely change their style. So and that's what happened, right? We weren't naive to that either. Like we knew that was going to happen.
I don't think it's an issue because it's a very difficult comp with the Sage Kanda. Everyone played the same setups, same style.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
not,
Yeah. So that's what we said. Like we weren't bothered about it. Like we didn't know the exact comp that we were going to use, but it's like he's most likely going to pick Jet. Like we were more confident they'd play Jet than it would Omen. So that's definitely not an excuse from our end either. Like we knew they were going to pick Jet. Like you said, it just comes down to our preparation, and we didn't have enough practice on that map. We prioritized other ones, and it came back to bite us in the ass at the end of the day. So. Yeah.
I mean, but it's smart because I mean, Pearl when you saw it on officials, it's I kinda know that in Prax, Pearl was going smooth because, but in officials was terrible. I mean, you also know. So I think it's smart that you play Icebox better than Pearl because I don't know what the fuck happens in Pearl, but we start playing it in official, we forget how to play, like some way.
I mean, our Peril, like you said in scrims, our Peril is phenomenal, and everyone is super confident on Peril. I think it's just we've just not had the best luck in officials against EG. They aren't like the Euro comp, and we kind of got caught off by that one, and then we picked it against FUT, I think, and we played pretty poorly. Like our fundamentals went out the door. We just didn't trade properly. It was like really micro level fixes, or well, macro was shocking because of our micro. Like we were split up, we weren't communicating, we were taking individual fights. It was nasty. So yeah, our Peril is not as bad as what it seems. And then again, Navi picked it against us. We were expecting to play Navi on it. And like if you watch it back and you really analyze that game, I wasn't like super disappointed with our macro. Like we started off very slowly again. I think like the first pistol round, like Angel just swung out and one deed or one share keloqz, on top screens, and it's like that's how the game's gonna go. And then if you look at like the games, like you can watch it back and like we literally our calls were good, like our comms were good. We were reading everything that we're doing. We were stacking like 3 or 4 people on the sites that were coming, but our like the split second decisions where it's like swinging together and like guys 3-2-1 peak and peak on me or like let's push now, like just those things were off, you know. And if they're off by even half a second against a team like Navi and you don't swing together and trade together, they're going to pick you off one by one, and that's kind of what happened. And we lost a couple of like crucial crotch rounds, and they get economy, they've got alts, and your first buy round you get your 0-4, and you're coming up against like 4 really good alts, and it's difficult to get back in the game. So
the thing it's like for me, Pearl is like a I'm not gonna say simple map, but it's a map that it comes a lot to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Because you are forced to take duels sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, the map for me, it's bad built. I mean, it's super free to play. It's kind of impossible to defend it, and you have to play perma retake it.
Yeah.
So it comes a lot to the fight and trade properly, and you know, I mean,
Yeah.
and if you are not on
start off
point in
slow
that,
yeah, exactly. If you're not winning your individual fights and you're not hitting your first 2 bullets against a team like Navi, they're going to hit the first 2 bullets every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like I said, our Pearl, we have a really good game plan for Pearl. We're super confident in Pearl. Let's see what happens. But yeah, we just haven't first picked it in a while.
I mean, but it's obvious that if you are getting good results in practice, you're gonna pick it. You know, that's what the people don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
They go tight. There's a meme. There's a meme that I like a lot now. That they say what that one guy put in the chat. And it was insane. Why they pick them up if they know they're gonna lose it, bro? I mean, what the fuck are you saying, man?
It's not like we get 24 every scrim and we're like, guys, we are shambolic at this map. Let's pick it every week for fun. No, like there's a reason we pick the maps, and it's because we're confident in them. Yeah, everyone, like every time we first pick a map, it's because we're really, really confident in it. And Peril, for example, was like over a span of like 3-4 weeks, like we were getting consistently good results and we were consistently improving. And that's kind of like where the first thing started coming out. We're like, we're smashing like these franchise teams in scrims, were playing flawlessly on Peril, and then it came to the officials, and yeah, against Navi we generally did. I think we got out aimed, we got outplayed, but against FUT, like we did just kind of crumble a little bit, I think, and it wasn't the team that I knew from scrims, and that's where the whole DM. I got like 40 DMs were like, "Nice one, scrim world champion, idiot, like quit." You know, like I wasn't going for the scrim world champion title, but yeah.
Bro, but I mean, everyone is saying it. Even the casters are saying it. So I mean, they were all saying that before BCT you were fucking smashing everyone in practice. So I mean,
we were like, and that's the thing. Like, scrims aren't everything, but you're playing it every single day. That's like the only metric you have until you get to officials. You know, so it's not like in North America they have these little weekly cups where there's like genuinely good tier two teams that play. So like in North America, you've got officials every single week that you can use as practice. But here, it's like your scrims are the only thing you can go by. So that's why people put a lot of.
And I guess you don't scrim with tier 1 teams all days. So just you have to go to challengers leagues, and there's sometimes that there are some games that I assume that you win only by firepower. So it's kind of difficult to understand what the issues of the team are, you know. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Like some of like the teams that maybe come like 5th or 6th in their league, like sure, like you will just win by firepower. So it's difficult because you're like, did this strat work? Because I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out. Honestly, you can see if your strats work because of the strat's actually good, or your take's actually good, or you've just won because you've won the duels. But I mean, there's teams now in challengers that give us really good games. Like there's teams in challengers that give us equally, if not better, games than some of the franchise teams. You know, so it's not that bad. There's some really good scrims against the challengers teams. Like Casa are really good, Apex are really good, Focus are good, Fireflux, the Turkish teams, like Pyro's team, they're really good in scrims. So it's not like you struggle for practice partners. You know, there's a lot of good teams in challengers, and I guess that's the good thing about how Valorant's going. Like the challengers, especially in the EU, I know it's being
Yeah.
criticized a lot, but the teams are making they're making good progress, and there's a lot of really good talent in those
Yeah.
leagues.
Yeah.
What
So-
other teams do you think are better to Ascension? I mean, what you cracked in Challengers?
So I think I think Fireflux are pretty good.
Yeah, with
Like
both.
that, yeah,
Both is
Woot's
insane, bro.
Woot is insane, bro. He's
Yeah,
so
no.
good. Woot, well, Fireflux are good. I think Casa are good as well. Like Miniboo's incredible. Like they've got Killers who's good. Focus are also good. Apex are good. Like Apex are very structured.
Yeah.
Ascend are incredible in scrims actually. They have a lot of firepower. Like Ascend have got a lot of firepower, so they're going to be interesting.
Bro, I didn't know if you. I don't know if you saw the team that it's playing. It's Patty playing right now, but they're insane,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah.
They are
Is it
fucking
Diamond? I
that
think.
diamond. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, we
It's
haven't scrimmed
Polish
against
power,
them,
bro.
but
Holy
yeah,
shit.
we haven't scrimmed against them in a while, but we scrimmed against them before, and they were good actually. They had some good players. There's also there's a couple of Portuguese teams that are good practice. Is it GTZ? I
Yeah,
think.
the fizzy one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Fizzy's team are good as well. Yeah, Saw I think it is. So
So
nah,
yeah.
there's like a lot of really talented teams. There's the French team as well with the one that Existence is coaching. Those guys all obviously give you really good scrims because it's Existence. And his teams are always well drilled. Mouse Sports as well. Those guys are good. So yeah, dude. That's the thing. Like people ask me like who's gonna qualify. I'm like, bro, I do not know. It's a complete coin
Yeah.
flip.
Yeah.
There's so many good teams. There's so many good teams in only one spot. So I mean, it's good for tier 2 Valorant in that way, but there's obviously some teams that are struggling a little bit because they don't have as much support. But
Yeah.
hopefully that gets better.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take some questions of the chat because there's some interesting ones. I mean, this is a question that, I mean, I have to ask it because we have a lot of old OG Heretics fans that put a lot of love on Lowell.
Yeah.
What was the reason he? I mean, don't tell me why did you not pick him up, but
Yeah.
uh, why did you choose another player instead of him?
LoL was a little bit complicated. I'm not going to dig too deep into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. There's nothing personal about LoL, by the way. Like he's a super nice guy. For me, it was more like when I came into Heretics, I wanted to kind of like. I'll be completely honest here, right? Like I know a lot of players that were in Heretics before. So like Artis, I'm really good friends with him. Patty Tech, and obviously like they weighed in on their opinions of what was wrong with the old teams, why they hadn't had much success. I'm not saying it's low, by the way, before you
Yeah.
said that. But like I just wanted a fresh start as much as possible, and to just like just have a completely fresh start. So I think it was the same thing. I could have kept some of the staff on. Line Pro actually wanted to keep on as well, but he wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
But like for Noel, for example, I think was there like that was one of the changes I wanted to have, just to have a complete fresh start. And the way the org or Heretics kind of sold the project was that it was going to be a long term project. Not like build a world's winning team in 6 months. Like it was going to be
Yeah.
a process and
That's kind of the
something.
mentality of the club right now. That's
Yeah, like
to go
so
long term.
that's what I was drawn by. And I think Leo is a really good player, but when you had someone we had Oscar already signed to the roster,
Mhm.
and then it was like, I'm not saying Leo doesn't have firepower, but when it was for me, like the person that would have been competing with Leo was Zeke, or Trex, for example.
Yeah.
And they just had like there were I don't know how to explain it. Like there was it just felt like a better fit. Like it was more guaranteed firepower, and that's what I feel like we kind of needed. And
Yeah, that you thought that it's that, I mean, in every team you need a guy that can like fucking carry a map or can just show and drop 30. I mean,
yeah, and
that's what yeah. I
with
have the
level as well.
same. I mean, Lowell it's good. I mean, but the thing for me, the thing that it's Lowell didn't fit in good in the team was like he's a player very similar to Oscar. Like
Yeah,
they
that's
are
what I was gonna
super
say. Like
experienced. they're super experienced, and I know because I talked to that. You don't know if you know Thinky, the coach of Team Queso.
Yeah.
That he is like a very vocal player. He's very good on mid rounds, but he also has firepower. And but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the similar thing to Oscar. So I think you have two players. I think you need someone to fucking go them and destroy them. You know, like just shoot and fuck it. That's my point of view. But
That was kind of like
yeah.
that was my point of view as well, or very similar to it. I basically said the same thing to the owner. You know, like if you sign Mixwell, I don't know how I would keep lowel on the team as well because they're very similar players.
Yeah.
In like from what I understand, and they also played together in CS years ago. You know,
Yeah.
so it was like I wanted to try and like not have as many similar players as possible, and then I also didn't want to get the old G2 core in, which ended up happening anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, things got kind of rushed pretty quickly, like I said. And to be honest with you guys, like the decision came down to we have 5 days. I could maybe have stretched out more, played more trial games, but most of them were getting most of the talent that was already signed up already.
Yeah.
So it was a case of like, do we take people that I've never worked with before who they're obviously super good, like people like Baddy G were good, but like it was more, do I give someone or do I give people a second chance in franchising? People like Avova, you know, like he was getting called out for having a really weak season with the Pipson team.
Well,
But it's like
if I speak about the season of, I prefer not to say anything because
If we speak, I'm in big trouble.
the thing is Zabova was not the. I mean, the problem of that season of the level of Abova that season is not him. He was just playing a completely different role of he was used to be. So I don't know.
yeah,
It was
exactly.
like kind of
So
hard.
yeah, that's why like he got a lot of shit basically. And the way I saw it was like there was two options. I basically tried to get 3 people or 4 people in and build around with Oscar that were young, were talented, but trying to do that in the time that I had was impossible. Like you just can't trial that many people and find the right ones for your team with such little time. So the options that I had were to go with people that maybe deserved a second chance. So Avova, for example, Zeke, the guy was like world champion, MVP of Worlds. I'm like, okay, let's give. He's had some problems in his previous teams. He got removed from a couple of his teams, but I was like, dude, like, we'll give Zeke another chance. He fits the bill. Oscar got a lot of hate from G2. I wanted to give Oscar another chance. keloqz, like, you know, everyone was saying like he needed another chance. So that's kind of how I built the team, and that's what I wanted to focus on. Like, build it and make it a team that we can. It can be like a redemption, you know, like it's their chance to redeem themselves and their chance to show that they still have what it takes, you know. So that's the route we went for. And like I said, the team wasn't built in a way that I'd usually do it if I had like the time and like the full control over the roster. I'd always try and find an IGL first and build around the IGL. I think it's the most important thing. They need to be comfortable with who they're playing with. Obviously, like if the IGL picks someone that I think is a complete asshole and is not going to fit, then we'd have to have a discussion. But I'd always like to work with the IGL and build a project together because at the end of the day, he's the one that's leading the team. It needs to match his vision. And yeah, like, it is what it is, man. I'm happy. I don't have no regrets of the team that we picked. I love every single one of them, and I like working with every single one of them. So,
I mean, I think it's understandable that if you don't have much time, you go for the things that you think you can manage better. You can try to fix your like the issues you had. I think you were able to do it. I mean, I think there's still a chance. I mean, people are throwing the. I mean, you know how people is.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, I kind of have that mentality right now. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm a fan and I'm watching that from outside, and I don't have the outside. After this talk today, I'm more like my view changed a bit, but people are like throwing the decision through the window, and they just don't think this can go better. I mean, I think we can really do better. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
At least for me, I would be happy as a fan if we just I mean, I'm not telling to win these three and just pray. I mean, if we compete to Giants, if we compete to Koi, we need to win Koi. Okay, if we lose to Koi, I'm just throwing out of the window, bro. I'm literally, bro. Yeah, I don't know if you saw yesterday game, but it was
I've seen the end of it. Yeah, like I feel
bro.
bad for them. I feel bad for them, to be honest, because obviously, like, I really like Coldamenta. Like,
Yeah.
I love that guy. So I feel super bad for them. Like, this is another thing that obviously, like, fans can understand the problems you can have in a team, but like when you have problems, like obviously we've had a ton of problems, bro, and I've had like tons of sleepless nights, and like you just don't want to think about anything else, like apart from fixing the team. But like I think Carmine Corp have had it as well. They've had some really tough decisions.
Yeah.
Koi have had some really tough decisions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel bad for them. I know, like we've been in similar kind of dire situations, and we've kept fighting. We've kept trying to come up with solutions and fix it. But yeah, like let's see what happens in the next couple of days. And there's also last chance qualifier as well, right? Like
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
also in another like month. And I think like people in this team anyway, are homesick, right? Like it's a long time to be away if you're young from your family, from your friends, from your girlfriend, from your pets. Like that's another thing people maybe overlook. You know, like you're in it's people say like you're a professional gamer, you're like living the dream, but
Yeah.
it's a tough life, dude. Like you're
Yeah.
away from your family, you're away from your friends, you're in the office every single day. Like even on your off days, like we're trying so hard to get people out of the office and try and do more team activities, you know. But again, like you're spending your off days with your teammates, and it's not a bad thing, but sometimes you just need a
To
break
disconnect. Yeah.
from everything. Yeah, like and yeah, I think it's probably what the Koi guys are going through as well. You know, I think everyone, like even the best teams, are struggling a little bit from it. You know, like missing their
Yeah.
family or missing their friends. But I think next year, um, maybe some of the teams they'll bring their families over. They'll have their girlfriends staying here. They'll move more permanently because this season's just 3 months, whereas I think next year is like 8 or something
It's
like that.
very
So
bad schedule. In my opinion, it's very bad schedule. Not gonna lie, but
yeah, so
this year is like approved. I think it should have been two splits at least.
Yeah.
That you can do a long-term team and you can build up something, but because this is a rush, not gonna lie. You come to Brazil with no prep. There's a lot of teams that had very bad prep for Brazil. Then you have to rush it to the BCT with all the people moving. And then in BCT, you have to solve the problems from week to week, which is difficult because you cannot change like all the things you want to do. And then I mean, at least we have 1 month or 2 months until last qualifier. I don't know how many time we have.
I think it's
A
like
month.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
I
Well,
think so.
hopefully we can
Yeah.
solve things there.
So again, like the teams that qualify for playoffs, like I think it's
Yeah.
the top 3 from playoffs, or sorry, top 3. Yeah, the top 3.
Yeah.
They make it straight to champions. I think the 4th team has to play the last chance qualifier anyway, unless they win Tokyo. So
Yeah.
whichever team that is, they're gonna have a hard time, bro, because they're gonna spend a
Yeah.
month or whatever in Tokyo, and then they're gonna come back and they're gonna have 2 weeks to prepare for last chance, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
without
right.
if they don't take a break, right? If they don't take a break and they grind for 2 weeks, they have 2 weeks to change their comps that everyone has been watching for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
And
let's hope in that Fnatic, because I think it's the best team right now in the world. Fnatic
yeah,
win Masters and we have 2 spots, so we
yeah,
can
that would be nice.
we can trust in the dream, you know. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of more questions. I'm gonna say one in the chat. If you wanna ask it, ask it. If you not, just fuck it, because it's about a player in personal that it's. I mean, it's not like I talked to Boo about the keloqz thing because it's hearing a lot of hate.
yeah,
We tried if you saw the video that it's gonna the idea was of that guy that it's in my left. He said to do the video to you to just cheer you up. I sent a special message to keloqz because we saw him struggling a lot with the mentality. He put a tweet that I didn't like a lot because he was like he's kind of depressed.
mm,
And I wanna ask, they put it in the chat. I don't know who the guy put Molina. I think it was. Uh, why keloqz is struggling too much on changing from Jet, because we saw him in performing in Neon, for example.
Yeah.
And Neon is not an easy agent, you know. I mean, you have to, if Neon, if you are not well supported and you're not like precise, you do a shit literally, because with Jeff, at least you have the dash and you have the smokes to get away. But with Neon, he performed well. I mean, he didn't do insane stats, but he was making space for the team and he was performing well, in my opinion. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, he did a really
And
good job as Neon now. He
and
still does a good job as Neon.
why is he struggling a lot with the agents? Why he's not able to play, for example, Raze? His Phoenix was kind of off timing all the time. I don't know. What do you think is the issue? It's more about the team. It's about him. What can you tell us about that?
So I think I think keloqz, for example, I mean, I can say it without going into too much detail, but keloqz is someone that needs a team environment that he can have fun in. And we don't necessarily have that right now. Like, the team was built so quickly that sure, like on paper it could work, right? But like I said, the most important thing is 5 people that get on together and they see the game the same way. They fun with like constantly, you know.
Yeah.
He's a very player that's very not reliant on confidence, but like confidence is a huge part of his game, and a lot of his confidence comes from having fun, and that's why I think in G2 he was incredible, because he had Coda in the server. That him and Coda, bro, like that bond was unbreakable. Like those guys just they would feed off each other, they'd hype each other up, they would genuinely like have so much fun outside of the game, they would have so much fun inside of the game. And right now he doesn't necessarily have that, and all the players, like, I'm not saying he hates his teammates, but he doesn't have the bond that he did with Coda. Like, he's got it with me, with my assistant coach. Like, we have a ton of fun outside the game, but like our relationship is really, really strong outside of the server. But inside, it's not the same. Like, you can't joke and have fun with your coach every single round, you know. So he just needs someone in the team that I think can feed him. And the environment this team has to, like the old G2 one, for example, is a little bit different. So that's part of the issue, and I think it is generally just because he's coming up against, like, people were saying like he's playing crap, but bro, he's played. Look at the teams he played against. You know, like he's came up against Darka, who was obviously incredible. Like Fnatic, Navi, even the Liquid guys. They've got Safe, who's I think statistically the best duelist right now in the league. Like it's not as if he's coming up against bad players, you know. So I think like a lot of it is down to his confidence right now. I'm trying like extremely, extremely hard to help him with that, but we also have a mental coach as well that can help him. But keloqz is also someone that loves being around his family. Like, I think he is obviously a little bit homesick. But yeah, like, you're dealing again, it just comes down to you're dealing with a real person at the end of the day who has real emotions, and those emotions can impact how you play in game, you know. And if you're not having as much fun as you maybe need, because that's how keloqz built his career. Like, his career was built on having fun, you know, having a laugh, having someone in a team that you can like just bond with and really perform with, you know. So I think maybe that's also why when G2 got rid of Coda, and you know how there was the whole Mixwell minus Mixwell plus keloqz minus keloqz, all that shenanigans.
That was a mess. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I also think that's maybe why he didn't perform as much as how he could have, because he didn't have that kind of like Coda person in the team, you know. So I think he either needs that kind of person you can look up to and have that like fun back and forwards relationship with in game, or have like one of his friends playing. You know, he's like really good friends with Shin, for example. So if you had like someone like that in the team that he could bounce off of and like enjoy every single moment of the day, no matter what, I think he'd be performing better. So yeah, with keloqz, it's more about just trying to create an environment that he can thrive on, and I think that impacts how he plays his agents quite a lot. But with Neon, he's doing a really good job because
Yeah.
we have a good game plan around his Neon. Like he knows what he needs to do. It suits his playstyle because you can be aggressive. He can just slide in. His stuns have been better, and it kind of it suits his style. Like he can be aggressive. He can support the team. We tried it on Phoenix again in scrims. He was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
In officials, I'm gonna keep saying that right, but yeah, like, it's not like he can't play other agents. With Raze, I think it just comes down to mechanics. Like he likes to op, so he sometimes ops on Neon. Like you'll see him op and he can throw up his wall. He can slide away. He can
Mhm.
Yeah,
if he
with
misses
Raze
an
is
op
more
shot.
difficult.
Yeah, if he misses an op shot, he can throw a stun or something. But yeah, with Raze, it's more mechanics. Like mechanically, his Raze needs work. It's something that we've tried to get him to work on, but yeah, he'd rather play Jet or he'd
I mean,
rather play
but
Neon or Phoenix.
playing, for example, right? It shouldn't be an issue. For example, I mean, what people complain is that, for example, he cannot get another role that it's not duelist. Because if you could have I mean, you have Sick, right, and you have Oscar. That they
Yeah.
are both in their prime time. They are both of the best races in Europe. Not and you cannot. I mean, Oscar is an insane race. He's not playing it. He's not played for a long time because he switched when you switched the thing to Viper and Killjoy. And Sick with Raze is insanely skilled.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what people
yeah.
complain about is that if he could have like take another agent, for example, in the maps that you need Raze, for example, Fracture or I don't know, in Split or other things, it would be better for the team right now. But I think it's an issue that you have and you have to solve. And I think it's not easy to. I mean, you cannot change it from night to morning. I mean, it's a process, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. It's something that like you maybe need the off season to kind of really grind it and
Yeah.
give them like a proper, like a development plan. Like how are you going to focus on it? Like break it down into stages. Give them VODs to watch. Like really support him. But it's not like we haven't tried that. We have. He's played Sky, for example. He's played
Yeah.
KO. He played Sky with me in G2, and he was really good on it. So
Yeah.
that's something that we can explore. He's tried KO before. The only problem was more kind of like if he had to do lineups, he wasn't the best at remembering lineups, to be honest. So you'd show him a lineup, he'd practice it, he'd get it right. You'd come in a scrim, and he'd throw it, and it'd be in Narnia, bro. It'd be like off the map.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it'd be on.
yeah.
We'd be playing Fracture, and his knife's ended up on Bind or something. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
what would happen. So yeah, we're more just like we have again. You're dealing with 5 or 6 scrims to if you give your if we gave our Fracture 6 scrims or 7 scrims out of 20,
Yeah.
and that's all he has to kind of make sure is impactful enough, then is a risk mid-season. So yeah, I'm not saying that he won't or we haven't tried that. Like we have, and it's definitely something we'll maybe go back to because he's not bad on agents. Like he can play Sage. Like it's not like he can't play
Yeah.
Sage, and it's not like he can't play Sky. He's good on Sky. So yeah, we just thought you'd have more impact on an agent like Jet, and that's also something that we've tried to think about because, like you said, right, he seems low on confidence. If someone's low on confidence, you don't want to be like, okay, take away Jet, you're gonna play
Yeah, that's
Sage. Like we're trying to support him. We're trying to instead of like fix the problem, we're trying to focus on his strengths and try to give him
yeah.
confidence and like let him show that he can still play Jet or he can play the duelist. We don't want to just be like, oh, you've had 3 bad games against Fnatic, Liquid, and Navi. Like you're not playing
Yeah.
Jet anymore. Like we
Mhm.
want to support him. So
You
and
just
I want to
get him
support him.
off all the confidence if you do that. I understand.
Yeah. So it's
Uh,
like this is
but
that's what we're dealing with.
but the thing is that, for example, I mean, we are gonna end this soon because I think we talked about everything. But the
Sure.
thing is that, for example, when you play double duelist, I mean, I think it's a good thing, but I think you need like people think that playing double duelist is like we're gonna rush and we're gonna play fast and we're gonna be aggressive. It's not kind of like that. You need I think you need more preparation because you have less utility to play with,
Yeah.
and your macro has to be like very I don't know how to say it, but you have to be more precise when with the utility you use, and you have to be more structured, I guess, with the double duelist. Because, for example,
Yeah.
in Fracture we saw, like for example, in Fracture, if you change the jet for a fade or KO, you can apply more pressure, and you can kind of win sides. You can apply pressure one side, and then you drag rotation, and then you can execute the other one. It's easier to take sides with more utility, but with two duelists, you are like kind of forced to execute.
Yeah.
Or if you or you have to play more around the bridge to make the pressure, And if you don't have the bridge, well, there's a. I'm not gonna be here to explain the macro to the people, but it's like kind of more difficult, And I think the double duelist comp can work, but it's a thing that when you need time to prepare it. I don't know
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that, but I think you need time to just
Yeah,
fit
I agree.
everything.
Double duelist is something that as a coach, it doesn't. It's not my philosophy, shall we say?
Yeah.
I'd rather be a bit more structured and more innovative and have like more creative comps. But like for me, I'd rather have a fade on that map. But for us,
Yeah.
mid-season, it's not possible. Like it's just not a reality. We needed more kind of firepower, and the good thing, like let's use Fracture for example, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to be more proactive for sure, but the reason like a lot of teams before were running double duelist on Fracture because it was so strong. Because
loud, for example.
yeah, and like the reason I think a lot of people stopped running double duelists is because Chamber was so broken. Like you could lock down one of the angles with an op, and that's what Jet gives you now. Like if you have double duelist, your Jet is basically a chamber. Like
Yeah.
you lock down one of the angles, you have all of the information on one side, you have your sentinel at the other, and then you've got the other, two or three being proactive or whatever. So you have so many options. You just have to be a lot more proactive with like the double duelist comps, and you can't just sit back. I'm not saying you have to send it and fight every single round, but yeah, you definitely can't afford to. That kind of fade that would sit there. It doesn't suit his playstyle. So it's like it's not like he couldn't play an agent. It just doesn't suit his playstyle. That would take. This is the thing like people need to understand, right? It's not the fact that keloqz can't play Sky. Like these guys can play any agent you put on them. Like give them 5 games, they can go be decent at it,
Yeah.
But you also have to think about their playstyle. You can't see keloqz being a fade that would sit there looking at a wall, lining up a reveal, or throwing a dog through the door. Like keloqz is the kind of guy that wants to take duels. He wants to be confident. He likes being in the action, and it helps his brain work. It helps him think about the game more. So yeah, he needs to be on agents where he's in the action and he's mechanically, sit at sands or something on insanely skilled. So I want him to be in positions to get kills.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be a kind of support agent, So yeah, it's kind of finding the balance. And obviously with Kale, with time, Kale can be very aggressive. Fade can also be aggressive. Like you see Leo on it. You see,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not aggressive, but he has impact, right? So yeah, it's just that's kind of how it is. Like double duelist isn't something that if I had an ideal situation, I'd run it on every single map. Definitely not. But we're kind of making we're trying to make work. We're trying to play on our strengths basically right now.
Yeah.
So
Double duelist thing I see and just with the finish we finish with the last question. The double duelist, I think, for example, in Fracture, if you want my feedback, like some way that I can afford. For example, in defense, you were like very confident because what I said, Oscar was just throwing perfect utility to everyone, combining with raise nades, making space for Sig to push, and that guy is fucking insane. He doesn't miss a fucking shot. So. And also flashing for keloqz, he did like 5 entries in defense, like with the operator in B. That was insane. I don't know what the fuck was Solkas doing, by the way, but
yeah.
But the thing that comes out, I think it happened the same in you remember that happened. Well, no, of course you remember the Haven that you played Reina and Phoenix. That it's kind of the same issue that, for example, you attack. You're kind of forced to do executes, and then for you use like everything you execute to get the side, and then for retic you just go okay. I have to hit the shots, and then if you don't hit them, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kinda my opinion. So for last,
We
for
have
last, yeah.
we have a second game plan for that. Don't worry. We just didn't really use it as much against like, but we have like a way of not expending all of our utility. Like we've got it kind of. That was one of the problems that Loud had when they played the comp, and we've tried to kind of look at the weaknesses of when Loud played it and try to come up with a solution. So yeah, there's a high chance we play it again in our next 3 games, right? So I won't discuss it, but yeah, don't worry. We've definitely thought about that. So we have a backup plan if hitting all of our shots doesn't work.
So then just to end the. Did you have any more questions just to end the interview here? Bro, I'm feeling so bad because I'm just talking to Neil and you're
no,
just
no, no.
there, but
Just don't worry.
he's just solving he's solving the connection issues that he's having. I mean, our
Yeah.
cams are going out like, right? Fuck, it doesn't matter. We're just running it. So
Yeah.
time for ending.
I'm sorry, but this is give me a bad moment. But don't worry. The last thing I want to ask is it's really two questions. It's the first one is how is the team right now? How they are? I don't know how to say, but how they see the situation in the future. They really give up, or they really feel so bad, but they know they can win the last matches that we have. So really, that's the first question. How do you see the team right now after these games?
Yeah, so obviously like the guys are hurting. I mean, most of them aren't in the office today. Like I think Avova might be playing or something. I think Oscar, he didn't get much sleep, so he's probably chilling somewhere just now. But no, like none of them have given up. Like the guys are aware of what it means. Like if any of them were to give up, you can't afford to do that. You know, like it's not in their nature. Yeah, I don't think any of them will ever just give up and roll around. Sure, sometimes you might feel like you want to give up. You know, like I think it's very common when a lot of them are getting spammed with hate on Twitter, and you know, like
Yeah.
if you're getting that much hate, sure, sometimes you might feel like you give up, but no, like they come into scrims every day and they give everything. So that's all I can ask. And as long as we do that in our next 3 games, that's all I care about. And I know they will. So
The last question
there's
is
no threat of that.
no, it's okay. The last question is if you can give a message for all the fans that are supporting the club right now. I can tell you it's a so biggest. It's so a lot of people supporting the guys right now after the lose against BBL, against the lose versus Team Liquid, against the losses. I can tell you is a lot of fun supporting the club, and if you can give all the people a message to continue supporting that the situation to the club, and let them know that the situation is going better, I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, so like I think like that's the thing I'll say to all the guys that have supported us, right? Like I know you guys have sent super nice DMs, and trust me, like the players read everything. Like they will read everything. We tell them not to read Twitter, we tell them not to go on Twitter, but they read everything, like the good and the bad. So everyone that's said nice things and supported us, thank you. It really does make a difference. You know, it's not like a football team like Barcelona where everyone gets hate or the manager gets hate and they don't read it. Like esports people read Twitter, like they're on their phones a lot, you know. So like almost every single message that gets sent will get read. No joke, like almost every single one. Sometimes it's just not expressed in the best way, but some of them are very young. Some of them can be like 14, 15, 16, 17. You know, like if I think of the stuff that if I had Twitter when I was that young, because I'm old, but if I had Twitter when I was that young, I'd probably say the same stuff and not really think about it. So yeah, it's not like I'm gonna hate on the people that give us hate. It's feedback at the end of the day, positive or negative. It's always good. So yeah, thank you to everyone who cares enough to tweet about us. You know, so I'm not, but then it motivates me or negative. We take everything in. I'll definitely take everything in. And like I said, the hateful messages motivate me a lot, but the nice ones obviously do as well. So yeah, we're doing everything that we can. Myself, Weber, Rob, we're doing everything we can to try make the season successful. Hopefully, like this interview or this chat is kind of like giving you an insight into why it's been so difficult. That was kind of like the idea. I never done something like this in G2 halfway through the thing, and that's kind of something I regretted doing with clubs that have like a big fan base, just to give you guys an insight into what's happening, you know? So yeah, like we'll try our best. We're doing everything we can. There's not been a single day where we sit at home and think, do you know what, I just can't be bothered today. Like I'm not going to do anything. I'll just take today off. Like we are doing everything to make it work. If I could promise you, like, yo, we're gonna win all 3 games, we're gonna qualify like 100%, I would do it. But I can't give you that promise. But the promise I can give you is like we will try our absolute best to make it possible. And then we also have last chance as well. So yeah, no one's gonna give up. No one's gonna give up.
Well, so with this, I think it's we've been an hour and a half here talking.
Yeah.
I want to be an hour, but I mean, I think it was good. I mean, we talked about anything, and I think this helps to clarify the situation right now. So yeah, that's repeating to you. No, thank you a lot for coming. Even the situation is difficult.
Yep.
And hope this gets better for our mental health and for yours mental health as well.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I'm losing hair again, bro. I'm losing hair again.
So just there's nothing more. Just thank you and hope at the end of the season, whatever it happens, I don't really mind. We can repeat this if you want. And
yeah, of course. Like I said. Decision that was made, like IGL changes, why it was done, how it was done, you know, some of the problems we've had in the team. Like that's something I intend to talk about after the season's gone, and also like what our plans would be for the next split. You know, like I can give some insight into that. So yeah, I'm down to do it again for sure. So yeah, thank you for taking your time as well, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, with this win, see you soon, Neil, and good luck for next games.
Good luck.
All right, man. Thanks.
Bye bye.
See you.
Le voy a quitar su cámara.
Ahora que Neil se ha ido, estamos aquí 50, hemos estado 80. Muchas gracias a todos los que habéis estado aquí. Perdón por las dificultades técnicas.
O sea, los fallos técnicos son de mi conexión.
Por lo menos, a ver, pero por lo menos se ha escuchado la entrevista entera. O sea que si no se nos ha visto, bueno, no pasa nada. Por lo menos no se ha cortado el este. Creo que he hecho las preguntas que había que hacer. Hay algunas del chat que si no las he leído es porque no me apetece hacerle esa pregunta. Lo siento. Pero le pregunto a la de lowel que no se la quería preguntar. Así que creo que ha quedado todo claro y creo que, bueno, sin más.
Yo, por mi parte, lo siento mucho a los del directo si habéis visto que no estaba muy en el mood. Pero para mí es muy frustrante. O sea, sé que estas cosas a vosotros os gustan y poder ver que tenemos acercamiento, por así decirlo, con la gente del club y que vienen aquí a dar un poco la cara, su punto de vista, cómo son las cosas, que nos explican cómo pasa todo internamente. Sé que a vosotros realmente os gusta y nos dais las gracias, pero para mí en lo personal es un poco frustrante ver que lo que os estamos proporcionando es un poco frustrante el hecho de que eso, simplemente que haya algo a mi alcance que no pueda controlar. Para mí,
Tío,
pues
pero sí. A
no
ver,
sé.
que se ha ido de vez en cuando, pero el 85% del tiempo ha ido bien.
Sí,
O sea
bueno,
que...
pero no sé, en fin, yo para estas cosas soy muy estricto conmigo mismo,
Pero
tío.
vamos, que yo cuando esté en mi casa hago yo el stream, pero es que lo que pasa es que la situación no está y creo que hoy hacía falta que... Porque yo la última vez no hubo cortes porque yo lo
Sí,
estaba haciendo
claro.
y me va bien la conex.
Ujú.
Pero yo creo que está bien, o sea, en plan, está bien. Hoy creo que era necesario hacer esto.
Sí,
O sea, que
además
da igual cómo haya
que...
salido, creo que ha dejado todo claro, lo subiremos a YouTube por si alguien no lo ha visto, con las partes así más importantes.
Ujú.
Y yo creo que lo importante es el mensaje, yo creo que cómo se haya visto con eso me da pela, o sea, creo que ha quedado todo claro y creo que le hemos preguntado por todo lo que había que preguntar y creo que se ha ido contento él y nos hemos ido contentos nosotros. Así que gracias a los que habéis estado aquí. Y nada, intentaremos traer a más gente, pero más con calma porque hay que preparar bien las cosas.
Sí.
Así que, pero bueno, lo de hoy era porque él me dijo, by the way, no, ir a mandarle apoyo y todo lo que sea. Él fue el que me dijo de venir. Yo no tenía pensado traerle hoy, sino hacer una prueba normal.
Ujú.
Pero fue él el que vino y nos dijo, podemos hacer una charla mañana, que quiero decir las cosas. Así que ha sido realmente él el que ha querido. O sea que, pues eso. Te iremos trayendo más gente y ya está. Y perdón por las dificultades técnicas, pero vamos, tampoco ha sido, para mí no es tan problema, no te voy a mentir. No es tan profesional y es lo que hay, puede ocurrir. O sea
Bueno,
que, bueno,
lo vamos a
gracias
cambiar
a todos.
para las siguientes veces. El feedback que tengáis de la entrevista ya sabéis que, que no lo podéis dar. Lo que vosotros veáis. Entiendo que la parte técnica, pues eso, que vais a comentar y se va a trabajar. Pero bueno, como ya comentamos, posiblemente el resto de los programas que vayamos a hacer, si se pueden hacer, los haremos en presencial desde el Heretics Hub. Supongo que no habrá estos fallos de conexión, por así decirlo, y será un poco más, entre comillas, profesional, porque podréis asistir, las preguntas que tengáis por el chat y que a lo mejor os han podido hacer, pues las podréis hacer desde el hub al invitado que venga a las entrevistas. Habrá entrevistas que tengan que ser online, otras a lo mejor son en presencial.
Sí.
Pero bueno, otra vez, 10.000 gracias a Luigi por el tiempo que ha estado traduciendo. No tiene ninguna obligación y el tiempo que ha estado, pues ha sido la hostia, la verdad, porque yo hay veces que el inglés, como habéis podido comprobar, pues no es mi punto fuerte. He hecho lo que he podido. Intentaré irme ahí a Londres, yo que sé, un mes para practicar el inglés. Pero bueno.
No te preocupes, cabrón, que estoy yo. No
Sí,
te
no, o sea,
preocupes.
ya te digo, yo prefería que llevaras tú el ritmo de la entrevista, si que era que a lo
O
mejor
sea,
estaba
cuando
un poco
hagamos en
flojo.
español ya tendrás tu tiempo, pero a ver, es que es normal, o sea, yo, para toda la gente que se ha sentido incómodo o tal, o sea, yo me manejo bien en inglés
Se ha
y,
notado.
y Neil encima habla, o sea, es inglés, o sea, que es complicado, o sea, que si no estoy 100% focus no hago bien la entrevista. Y ya está, he intentado sacarle todo y
Sí,
es que a veces es complicado cuando, o sea, yo tampoco soy nativo, o sea, hablo el inglés, ya está, pero que no soy
hombre, a ver,
nativo y me tengo que concentrar en qué decir
mejor
y
que mí
cómo
se te ha
decir las
dado.
cosas. Hombre, cabrón,
Sí,
yo hablo
no,
normal,
me,
pero
me refiero a que no te preocupes, que yo prefería que llevaras tú el timón de la
es
entrevista.
que
Aparte que te he visto
es...
suelto con él, que es lo más importante.
Sí, a ver,
Neil ha
sí.
estado abierto a responder todo de la mejor forma posible. Yo creo que lo hemos notado que estaba un poco incluso cómodo, que tenía libertad para decir, pues incluso alguna que otra coña, para reírse y tal. Y bueno, pues eso, de otra vez más daros las gracias a toda la gente que está por aquí, a la gente que está y a la gente que estará. Pero bueno, que en resumen, gracias a todos. Este programa fue así un poco express y yo creo que ha salido mejor de lo que nos esperábamos.
No, las entrevistas están saliendo todas bien.
Así que. Así que nada, vamos a ver qué próxima entrevista podemos hacer. Sabéis que si queréis que entrevistemos a alguien, nos lo podéis decir y lo intentaremos trabajar. Así que nada, poco más por mi parte que decir. No sé si es que queréis que le hagamos raid a alguien ahora. Supongo que está jugando.
Sí, se la podemos hacer a,
Vamos a hacerse la
a
Ferra.
Sergio.
Si podemos hacerse la Ferra, se la hacemos a Ferra.
Sí.
Que ayer a mi pobre chaval se le complicó un poco el partido. Pero bueno, entiendo la impotencia que se siente y todo. Así que vamos a
La
hacerle
configuración
una.
de Sergio Ferro no me deja hacer en este momento. Mira si la puedes hacer tú, por favor.
Vale, voy.
Barra raid.
Barra raid Sergio F. Ferra.
A Oscar.
Oscar
¿Está
está en
Mixwell en
directo.
stream? No está en stream.
No, Mix no está en directo, chavales. No está. Bueno, vamos a ver si se la podemos hacer a Sergio. No podemos. Vale, creo que sé por qué es. Luego
¿Por qué?
lo revisaremos. No sé, creo que hay que verificar la cuenta con los números de teléfono. Y está complicado. A
Ah,
Mix la entrevista es muy complicado.
pero no se le puede hacer a nadie.
Pues. No tengo ni idea. No tengo ni idea. No sé a qué otra persona se le puede hacer. La raid.
No, la configuración de... Pero es... A lo mejor no deja que se le raiden cuentas no verificadas. Bueno, da igual, ya lo haremos.
No sé, ya luego le echo un ojo. Pero bueno,
Le echa un ojo luego y
que.
ya está.
Iros todos al canal ahora de Sergio, entonces.
Ir
Os
al
mandamos
canal de
para allá.
Sergio y poner Vamos Heretics. Y ya está. Venga, chao. Capitanes.
Os dejamos por allí. Bueno, os dejamos no, iros para allí. Así que nada, un besito
Poner
enorme
todos
a
en el chat,
todos.
poner todos en el chat Vamos Heretics.
Todos. Así que nada, lo último. Un beso a todos. Os esperamos más veces por aquí. Y
Venga,
bueno,
venga.
pues veremos lo que se puede hacer.
Tirar
Chao,
para
chao.
allá, tirar para allá, tirar para allá.
Buenas
Venga,
noches,
let's go.
chavales. Pasadlo bien. Un besito a todos.